Thanks for the opportunity to be with you all. As Barbara introduced me earlier, I'm Jonathan Purvis, Vice President for Development with the IU Foundation, and my charge is specifically to work with our regional campuses. And we have a network of regional campuses across the state. As most of you know, the 5 IU-administered campuses are the ones that I'm directly charged with. We obviously take a lot of pride in our alumni and our programs at IPFW. We also have a campus in Columbus that feels like a regional campus, but is really a part of our IUPY campus. So my comments really are pertaining to those 5 IU-administered campuses. I took the TEDx-inspired theme pretty seriously. So I watched one of the IUX versions of this last year, James Wimbush, which is where I realized, Fred, that I should wear a tie. He's very sharply dressed. I watched a few traditional TEDx presenters just to really kind of get a sense of that. And then really just by coincidence, we had a student speaker at the foundation board meetings yesterday that was presenting on the IU TEDx version that he brought. So I really kind of feel like I got this knocked down cold. I'm really an expert on that. But I'll really get to the point. So when JT asked me to talk a little bit about the regional campuses, I thought of the 3 things that probably you all think about. One is Thomas Jefferson. Right, naturally. Sure. One is the paralysis of scarcity. And the third no-brainer is my little second cousin, Jordan. So I want to talk about those 3 things today with you. It's hard to believe that, and I'm not going to trump your statement here, Kelly, in a little bit, but that we are just a few years away from the bicentennial of Indiana University. And it's even harder for me to at least wrap my brain around the fact that Indiana University was founded just 4 years after the state of Indiana was created. And I don't even think that was 25 years after our Constitution was ratified. It's really hard to believe that really the foundation of this country is very directly aligned with Indiana University. Just a year after IU's founding, Thomas Jefferson said this, speaking on the topic of education in a Republican government. He wrote, the value of knowledge to a Republican people, the security it gives to liberty by enlightening the minds of its citizens, the protection it affords against foreign power, the virtue it inculcates, the just emulation of the distinction it confers on the nation. Well, that may seem very kind of high-minded. Liberty, the protection affords the foreign values, virtue, the distinction it confers on us. That is the power of education and knowledge. It may seem really high-minded, and maybe it is. It may surprise you, though, that today, 200 years later, this is very much in the forefront of what we're doing in higher education, I would argue specifically with the regional campuses. In fact, Indiana's Commission on Higher Education Strategic Plan, Reaching Higher, Achieving More, says this: more Hoosiers than ever before recognize that a college credential is their passport to opportunity and prosperity. Indiana must rise to the challenge by establishing one of the best and most student-centered higher education systems in the country. The stakes for achieving more have never been greater. It is not an overstatement. It is not an overstatement to say that Indiana's future depends on the educational attainment of its citizens. And I would argue that the regional campuses do just that. And in fact, they do pursue Jefferson's foundational vision for higher education, and they are, as the Indiana Commission for Higher Education suggests, vital to Indiana's future. And I think that, to use a TEDx theme, is an idea that is very much worth sharing. So what do these look like? What do these regional campuses look like? Some of you, Barbara in particular, are very deeply involved with our regional campuses. Some of you may not be. Some of you may have a notion of what they are, but you're really not sure. Well, IU Kokomo's Chancellor Sue Shimei Joseki puts it this way. We, the regional campuses, she was really speaking broadly, we exist to lift up the people of our community and expand economic opportunities so that our region can dare to dream of a better future. Did you hear that? We exist so that our communities, that's our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, those of us with privilege, those of us without privilege, so that our communities, all of us in this room, can dare to dream of a better future. That's why our regional campuses exist. Well, what do they look like? They may look like something very different than you might have in mind. They are comprehensive four-year institutions that grant IU bachelor and master's degrees. Our regional campuses aspire to be first-choice institutions for qualified students that are place-bound for whatever reason. Maybe that's because of financial constraints, employment constraints, family obligations. And the scope of our campuses is massive, truly massive. They span the entire state. We have regional campuses in Gary, South Bend, Richmond, Kokomo, New Albany. I mentioned Fort Wayne, of course, and Columbus. There are nearly, and this just blew me away the first time I heard this statistic, nearly 29,000 students enrolled. That's just about a third of all IU students in the state are enrolled at our regional campuses. Each year we award a little over 3,800 bachelor's and master's degrees in a wide range of offerings spanning from traditional liberal arts majors to business, education, social work, health sciences, and many more. All of our campuses offer NA, IA athletic experiences for our students in sports like basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, many more. And tuition, IU tuition at Bloomington IUPUI is a bargain. I think I heard yesterday, Mike, that in IU Bloomington is the lowest in the Big Ten. Our regional campus tuition is a bargain at $6,900 for full-time tuition in a year. Truly incredible. So those are maybe some interesting, but also maybe some boring stats. So let me just share a few stories of what this really looks like. A few might surprise you. So what do these students look like at our regional campuses? Well, sometimes they look like Venus Williams. So some of you may know that. Yeah, I'm talking about tennis superstar who's currently ranked, I did a quick Wikipedia search so I know this is all accurate, ranked number 9 in singles, has been ranked number 1 on 3 separate occasions, 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 4-time Olympic gold medalist. Yeah, that Venus Williams. She's a graduate of IU East. IU East, this is just incredible, has a preferred partnership with the Women's Tennis Association to help those women who are traveling all over the world finish a college degree. Might not surprise you that Venus wasn't able to participate in IU East traditional graduation ceremony, but she did request to have a special ceremony on campus. I was able to participate in that. And this just blew me away. You think about the lifestyle Venus Williams leads. Successful athlete, businesswoman, wouldn't think that she would want for anything, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this, but I might not even guess that her finishing her bachelor's degree would be kind of in the top 10 list of her lifetime accomplishments. But when Venus spoke, and her parents weren't able to be there, and I don't think she thought much about it at the time, she said, and she started to choke up, and I might start to choke up a little bit, she said, of all the events that my parents have seen me participate in, of all the Grand Slam titles I've won, of all the competitions that I've competed in, and my parents have been there, this is the one event that I wish they could be here, receiving her degree. That was really an eye-opening experience for me, that this degree, this IU degree, only made possible, in this case by IU East, would be that much of an impact on someone like Venus Williams. It can also look like a gentleman named Isaac Torres. For those of you from the South Bend, Goshen, Elkhart area, you may know of Isaac. Isaac came to Indiana from Mexico City as an international student pursuing his MBA at IU South Bend. In his MBA program, like is traditional for MBA programs, he was asked as an assignment to write a business plan. Well, he came up with an idea that he didn't think traditional wire transferring, so money wire transferring services were really friendly to the growing Hispanic population in that area. And so he thought he could do it better. And so he developed a business plan that would provide this service to the Hispanic community. His faculty encouraged him to do that. They thought that it was marketable. Well, 20 years later, he has created Intercambio Express. It's headquartered in Goshen, but it's a multi-million-dollar corporation. They have locations in 26 different states. And I think what's most remarkable, perhaps, about Isaac is that he never forgot where he got his start, which is in IU South Bend. He's given back generously to that campus. He's given back generously to his community and continues to do so. So that's what our regional campuses also look like. But sometimes they're maybe not is glamorous, but I think equally compelling. Sometimes, and Barbara's met Pamela Smith in IU Southeast. Pam Smith is a full-time student at IU East pursuing her Bachelor of Science degree in nursing while juggling being a mother. She's also a pediatric emergency room nurse at a hospital in Louisville. Well, I met Pamela because she accepted a full tuition scholarship from IU Southeast Chancellor's Medallion Scholarship last year. And she came up on stage to accept that with her little 6-year-old daughter, Serenity. And she shared afterwards that it was so important for Serenity to be with her so that she could show her little daughter that hard work really does lead to success. That's certainly Pamela. And the stories go on and on, as you might imagine. So let me just talk about a few more things, and I'm probably already running over time. Those are great success stories, and they're absolutely true, and those of us that work with the regional campuses see them every day. But the challenges are immense, immense. It's a tough demographic. 85% of our regional campus students are first-generation, minority, or non-traditional students, and we've probably all seen the news articles and literature to understand that that demographic has a lot of obstacles to overcome. Part of that is indeed the paralysis of scarcity, and I've taken a little bit of an interest in this, and just in brief, the paralysis of scarcity and the stress that's associated with poverty really does lead to poor mental health, poor physical health, and it's also understood now that it really actually leads to poor decision-making. When you're under the stress of scarcity, whether that's just money or really any basic human need, it directly leads to poor decision-making and doing things you wouldn't otherwise do. This demographic of students is absolutely facing the paralysis of scarcity, and it leads to what I call a culture of crisis, where to those, many of us in the room, getting a flat tire, having a child that has to stay home from school because they're sick, any of those day-to-day life things, for us, maybe we kind of get over that, but it's a crisis when you're living in the paralysis of scarcity. All of that and more leads to a real challenge in completion rate for our students. So we are really doing a good job on the regional campuses, but the reality is that 6 years after students enter our regional campuses, only 45% have either graduated or are still enrolled. So that may sound like a pretty good number until you think about it. That means 55% have neither graduated nor are still enrolled. We've got to figure out how to do a better job of supporting that community. So what can we do? What can those of us in this room do? Well, I think there's 3 things. We can get involved in our campuses that are in our area. We can be part of the movement, and it should be a movement that lifts our communities up, as Chancellor Gasecki says, that lifts our community up through the power of education. We should be encourager for students in our community. Expand that student's community of supporters that says, yes, you can do this, when maybe everything around them says, no, they can't. And I think, lastly, yes, remember I work for the IU Foundation, we can support our campuses financially. And beyond the money, which is very important, beyond the financial support that we can all provide through scholarships or other assistance, a scholarship for a student says that somebody believed in me enough to invest in me. And that power is way more important than the financial support, which of course is obviously very important as well. So I'm going to leave you with this, the last point that you all thought of when you think about the regional campuses. My little second cousin, I had to look up second cousin, that's actually right, Jordan, who to me is always 5 years old, but now all of a sudden she's 18 years old, is part of a family that I think I would characterize as the new middle class, which means they're living paycheck to paycheck. Parents work hard, but there's a lot of issues. And when I think about Jordan going off to college, I really wonder, is she going to be part of the 45%? Or is she going to be part of the 55%? I truly believe, we look around the room, look to your left, look to your right, the difference for my little second cousin Jordan, for the little cousin Jordan that's your neighbor, or maybe your little sister, or your daughter, or your granddaughter, the difference in the answer to that question, if she'll be the 45% or the 55%, rests squarely on our shoulders. Thank you.